Hi there. Maybe I look a bit rough. I've been working on my boat today. I didn't shave. I didn't care to do that because I would be outside. It's very nice. The weather was kind of warm and kind of cold because middle of the day suddenly there were these hailstorm, ice stuff coming from the sky. But the paint froze off my boat, so I have to do some heavy repairs. But hopefully I'll show you in some video in the near future that I'm sailing again. I call this video Waiting for the Deadly Flu Pandemic. That's basically what we can do. The US has said that it'd like to see the publication of an article of research from a Dutch scientist in Rotterdam that researched bird flu and came up with a very deadly artificial variant. And he wants to publish his how he did that in the publications, and the US and Holland, I believe, is now agreeing to do so. So whoever basically was in the mood to do some depopulation can now do it, because you only have to get some books about genetics and about cellular microbiology and a little bit of let's say petri dishes and a bit of space, and nobody will notice what you're doing, and some chickens, I guess. That's a simplification, but of course, you know, people are blocked by not knowing how to do stuff all the time. You know, why do you think that it's possible to sell all this crap electronics to everybody? Because people simply don't understand how things work, and then they need somebody else to give it to them or give the solution to them. Some kind of tool or an app or whatever. Because they don't know. They don't have time to learn the skills and get the insight. And they don't want to, because they know it's much easier to simply ask for a product. In terms of security in the world, that's of course also the case. That there are simply people that don't know how to make a bomb. Great! People that don't know how a gun works, that don't know how to get a gun, that don't know anybody that has a gun. People that don't have aggressive, violent people around them. Great, you know. You don't know how to make sarin? Great, keep it that way. Why would you like to know that? You know, who's going to benefit from that? It's always, I don't know. Anyway, so now there's going to be this publication, and people can read and they can put their mind in the right order in order to actually do this stuff. And I think it is unbelievably imprudent, but I cannot stop it as an individual. So I'd say the following: if you want to make a publication as a scientist, then do it amongst your colleagues that you trust, and share the knowledge with them. Of course, there are laboratories that research deadly flus and all that stuff, and they are closed facilities with high security, and people die every year in those facilities. And there was this Swiss lawyer, Miss Burgermeister, that said, well, that already tried to make a court case because it's much too easy for you to order a deadly flu, apparently. So and it's much too insecure the way that these flus are transmitted, or not transmitted but transported. Just to explain a little bit about what we're talking about here, because that's also an important aspect of it, is of course flus develop all the time. Why? Well, there are viruses. What is a virus? It's a little pocket, it's like a little piece of tissue with a little code in it, like a fortune cookie, and of course it enters your body. It is a dead thing. It doesn't have a mind of its own, it doesn't have organs, it has nothing. It's just a little, let's say, you can say a simplification, it's a fortune cookie or an unfortunate cookie. It goes into your body, it tries to find a cell that it can attach to, so it has to have handles in order to attach to a cell, and then it injects the little fortune code into the cell, and that cell has all kinds of processes going on inside the cell, and that fortune message goes into it. It's RNA, it's called ribonucleic acid, which is a precursor of DNA, let's say in the history of life. First there was a ribonucleic acid, which is a series of different types of amino acids, they are basically, you could say, recipes for protein usually. So the cell has them floating around. It also has a lot of parts of proteins floating around, called not proteins but amino acids. And these RNAs are structures that are used in order to put together proteins by combining the amino acids in certain ways. So if you want to have, like, I'm not sure, I don't know, peptide, I'm just making something up, it's a protein, then you have to have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and that's in the RNA. And what happens is that in these cells, these RNAs of the viruses, they start to make cell tissue, the outside. They start to make the attachment and all the parts of the virus, and they start to make all kinds of other parts that put together the virus inside the living cell. And then, of course, after a while, the living cell is full to the brim with all little viruses, all these little pockets with new fortune cookies, and then it bursts and it breaks, and all these viruses get spread out into the host, and the host gets sick because this virus is destroying its cells through the process. It's a complicated story, but why do I tell this? Well, first of all, as the virus is or being multiplied in that manner, there is RNA floating around of the host in that same cell, and that can mix with the viral RNA or end up in these little pockets and travel with the virus. Might not end anywhere, but sometimes it does. Sometimes, so you get a flu infecting a pig, and it gets some little pig RNA added to itself, and then it goes to a bird, and it gets a little bird RNA added to itself, and then it goes to a human, and it gets a little human RNA added to itself, and that's why you got swine flu with different combinations. That can, of course, occur naturally. That's one thing, and the other thing is that the important aspect of these bird flu viruses is that they have ways to attach to certain cells that are not our nose, in our throat, or in our bronchia, which is a problem, but not too much a problem. So these cells get destroyed, that's why you get sick, but they go beyond the lungs into the body, and they attach to a lot of tissue in the body, so they infect your whole body. That has to do with the makeup of these viruses. Anyway, very complicated, way too complicated story. It is insane that this type of knowledge is allowed to roam free. We are constantly protected, as I probably said, by the ignorance of people, because, you know, if you want to, let's say, boil it down to the essence is, people can get frustrated and angry. That's fine. If they don't have any weapons, then they can be frustrated and angry, and nobody has to care. You know. But if they do have nuclear weapons, or if they have a gun or a knife, and they get frustrated and angry, then you created a problem, basically. So now the US agrees, and Holland maybe also agrees, and this scientist on his own decides, out of frustration and probably anger, to weaponize the anger and frustration of other people. Very unwise. But I cannot stop it. It's going to happen. And that means basically that it's a matter of time. And the irony is, of course, that under natural circumstances there is limits to what kind of virus you can get. Because, of course, you can, you know, there are limits to the variants that you can get in viruses if they naturally develop. Let's say the limits to life that as we know it, within the freedom that evolution allows, is what we find on our planet today. That's the life that had an opportunity viable enough to survive. That's what we have right now. And during the time of the dinosaurs, the situation was different, so you had different types of life. But it was a limited, finite group, eventually. So we don't have flying razorfish that fly right through your head and and kill humans on the beach or something like that, because simply those type of animals couldn't occur. They won't. There's just no way that they have developed, luckily for us. Same goes with viruses. Some types of viruses have not developed. So for the last, let's say, 10,000 years, a truly deadly world pandemic causing flu virus that's deadly to humans has not developed. Now it can happen because somebody basically it's like trains running on a separate track. You know, they can run on separate tracks for ages, parallel to each other, and there's no way that one can get to another track. Humans can say, okay, well, we put this train on the other track, and then they can run into each other. It's like a type of intervention that you really don't need. So I think it's worth a mention. So that's why I'm making this video, and I hope it's interesting, and I hope well, something can be done about this. The reason the Americans give is, let's publish this information on making this deadly weapon so that people can find a way to fight it. It's typical insane reasoning. If you don't want an increase in your risk in the world, then you have to not enable people to become a risk. That's my view, but thanks for listening.